Sorry I missed my video last week. I was super busy celebrating my birthday. Got a little too trashed, and yeah, Sunday was a little rough, so I skipped a video. But to make up for it, I decided to do a very long video. The question this week was, hey, I get this a lot, by the way. I think it's a very common question. What's more important, your nutrition or your training? Like, you'll hear a lot of times, oh man, my workouts are good, but like, I could get to the gym, but my nutrition's bad. So, and I hear diet's 90% of everything. Oh yeah, diet's everything, blah, blah, blah. You could do whatever. And your diet's everything. Like, and that's what's really holding me back. Or, like I eat kind of healthy, but like, I just don't work out, but I feel like I should have like the physique I want. And I think this is a pretty misconstrued topic. There's actually, I kind of have this theoretical, like, kind of triangle on like the importance of, building a good physique, or, having a certain fitness level, whether you're a bodybuilder or you're, just someone kind of starting out trying to get in shape. So another crudely drawn chart on my whiteboard. It's called my 3 pillars of fit. So in the 3 subcategories, we have your training, which is going to involve, your workouts, your intent, ego, and drive. And with all this said, like intent, just kind of this kind of guy right here is just getting work done, I'm just gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna go hard, blah, blah, blah. I'm a, gym rat, whatever. Like that is like that specialty. Nutrition, macros, micros, sustainability, your lifestyle. So this is generally the person, if I were to describe someone that has their eggs all in with this basket, it'd be when I was around 20, I worked at a health food store, and there'd be all these people there that were really into, like, the gluten-free, vegan, natural, organic crap, but then none of them worked out, and all of them were very overweight or obese, but, they ate clean and they ate, quote-unquote healthy, but, BMI, fat percent, like, just completely unhealthy, never exercised. And I think on the bottom, knowledge, I think being a student of the game, wisdom, and, self-evaluation is probably the biggest missing piece in, I'd probably say 90 or 95% of, any given person that I see at the gym. I think this is either, there's only 2 ways you can obtain this. Either you go through years of failure and you learn through trial and error, or you hire a coach. I mean, like anything in life, you either hire someone to do it for you, or you have to learn to do the service yourself, right? So I think each of these are equally important. I mean, I don't think one is more important than the other. I think in every situation, I can create a scenario where, it's too much. For example, the guy that is too into his training, isn't invested into his knowledge, or isn't invested into nutrition, it will not get, I mean, you're going to have some genetic people, or you're going to have, people that are on drugs that are going to get decent physiques just by sheerly training like a straight meathead, and, kind of not eating optimally, or being, as knowledgeable. And, people are going to make gains. Some people are going to make gains regardless. I mean, I think if you're training hard enough, you will see progress, but the question is it your maximum progress? And, generally speaking, if you are too invested in your training, you're not going to really have the knowledge to focus on your form, which is when the ego takes over. Ego is a great thing. Ego gets you going. Ego keeps you competitive. Ego keeps you to push yourself. But too much ego, you're going to end up with injury. I think too much in this category, the ego kind of takes over. That's why they call it ego lifting, when you're lifting more, and, form can get out of place. To invest into nutrition, I don't care who you are. If you eat clean, you eat a shit ton of protein, but if you don't work out and you're not creating any kind of muscular tension or any kind of adaptation, you're not going to have a good physique. Like, you're not going to grow muscle if you eat a crap ton of protein and you don't train. To invest into knowledge, I think I've met a handful of people that are they're really into the science of it, but then when it comes down to it, they never apply it to these 2. I think Dr. Layne Norton calls it paralysis by analysis. You're kind of so caught up in the science that you're kind of frozen in it, and you're so caught up in having everything perfect that you never execute. So you never have the power of the, you know, the ego. You don't have the ego and the intent and the drive here to kind of manifest the knowledge. So I personally think the reason why people say nutrition is 90% of it is just because culturally, you know, all of us eat for fun. I mean, that's how like traditions for like human social interactions has been, you know, manifested throughout the years. Like when you travel, what do? You eat another culture's food. It's a way to experience the culture. It's a way to, you know, socially, you know, interact. So I think people think diet is 90% of the issue. I think it's mostly because it's the adherence issue. It's not so much one is more important than the other. It's that more people mess up in nutrition. So there's a difference between one being more important than the other, and one where people mess up more often, if that makes sense. So, for example, say some guy says, "Oh, I can make it to the gym, but you know my nutrition sucks." Blah 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 blah. I mean, who's to say you're just not going to the gym and kind of, you know, messing around, not really taking it seriously, and you know, your nutrition's holding you back. You know, it could very well be your training and your nutrition are both lacking, and you know, you can learn from that. I'd probably say about 90% of the people have a weird kind of combo of this and a very huge lacking in knowledge. I think if you have a powerful knowledge base, it can fortify training and nutrition, you know, exponentially. I mean, how many people have you met where they say, "Oh man, if I only knew what I knew in the past, you know, blah 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 blah, like I would be so far," you know, et cetera, you know. And I think the guy that's really heavily interested in training and nutrition and not so invested in knowledge will generally be the guy that, you know, you know, he's very fixated on one philosophy of training. He eats clean, and you know, he's kind of not, he doesn't really self-evaluate himself or herself, you know, a lot. And you know, that's the only way to kind of break through sticking points and kind of really progressing yourself to the maximum level. Like if under any given moment someone gives you some advice, like for example, if you truly have a good understanding of training and nutrition, at any given point, you should be able to reverse engineer anything anyone says. So when someone says, "Oh, I'm on this workout split," like, you know, there's so many powerlifting splits. There's 5-3-1, Shinko, you know, Bulgarian squat, whatever. You know, there's so many. But then when someone tells me they have a certain training split, I don't think of it as some kind of magical plan. I think of it as there's a certain amount of volume, there's a certain amount of intensity, and there's a certain amount of frequency, and it's a certain combination of those. And for example, if someone tells me, "Oh, I'm eating paleo, I'm eating this, I'm losing weight," it's like, no, you're eating in a deficit, and you know, all the foods you eat break down to a certain amount of carbs, certain amount of fat, and certain amount of protein. Everything always breaks down to like the kind of like the rudimentary, you know, principles. And once you get a grasp of those principles, you can kind of reverse engineer things for your training and your nutrition to, you know, kind of work for it in your favor and kind of optimize and amplify all these things. So that I think that's why knowledge is very important. I mean, all these are important, but I think knowledge is probably the number one missing link in all these. So in conclusion, what's more important, training or nutrition? Nothing is more, you know, nothing is more powerful than the other. It's like, are you messing up in one? Okay, you should fix it. Both of them are equally important. And I would say knowledge is, you know, the third missing part that almost everyone is missing, right? Because we all want that special magic program, but you know, in the end, there is no magic program. You know, you can optimize things and you can do things correctly, but there is no magic pill. There is no magic meal plan. You know, I mean, you can feel really good about your meal prep. You can feel really good about, you know, your ego lifting and all that. But in the end of the day, is that going to get you the progress that you want? Like if something in your training is flawed, but it still kind of gets you gains, like, you know, that's great. I think that's great to start with. Like newbie gains, which is, you know, your first 2 years of lifting. I think that elicits a lot of the kind of psychological ego, because whatever you do in your first 2 years, you're going to make huge strides in your, you know, your physique. So I think people get caught up in that, because whatever you do, you're going to make gains, right? And they kind of get fixated on like, this is what I did for this and I got this much results. But then you got to remember that as you progress, you're going to hit, you know, there's the law of diminishing returns. So the more muscle you gain, the harder it is to gain after that. It's like a curve. So I think that's absolutely crucial why knowledge and, you know, being humble, a student in the game, and, you know, just trying to gain wisdom with self-evaluation. Like, is this working? Why is this working? I mean, what is this training split? Why is this training split effective? Why is it becoming ineffective? Is my nutrition on point? Am I losing? You know, there's so many freaking pillars of nutrition and training and all that you can dive into. But I think the main three is your training, your nutrition, and your knowledge. And I think once you get your training, your nutrition's on point, and then you slowly work on, you know, building your knowledge up, and you create like a, you know, a perfect kind of triforce of like the balance of the three is when you truly kind of understand, you know, how things work, and then you can finally apply it to your own body, because everyone reacts to everything differently. But the trick to all this is to learn everything or hire someone that knows everything already to teach you, and kind of, you know, once you get like the main principles, you kind of mess with it and you kind of apply it to yourself, and from there it's all, you know, it's more of an art form than, you know, science. But that's all I had to say. Sorry for this video being so long and freaking talking a lot. I hope I didn't bore you guys. I think my leg day video should be up in a couple weeks. I recorded some of my chiropractic work. I have my guy editing it right now. That should be up in a while, so you guys can watch me get my back cracked and stuff. But besides that, that's all I had to say today, and I hope this was informative. Check you guys next week.